did you see? I actually did 3 different similar rants on the Guardians. One on Twitter, one on the show yesterday, and one on my podcast. Did you happen to see or hear any of them?
I tried following your Twitter one, but it was an old man rant that was
all
broken up.
I forgot.
I have ADD, and I couldn't make it.
I screwed up and didn't make it a chain or whatever the hell it's called.
Right.
I did one today. Did a 2-part one on Howard Stern today that I actually did right.
I saw a little bit of that one.
You a Howard Stern fan?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
The one yesterday was beautiful. I thought it was
Thank
very
you.
articulated.
Well, it was too many. I screwed it up the way I had to put it on Twitter. But thank you.
Yeah, you articulated it very well. Everybody know I'm a casual baseball fan. So when I can sit here with guys like you and understand what you're saying and get educated on it, I thought it was dope. And I thought you made a lot of sense to what you were saying. So,
thank you.
No problem.
And my point was, the overall point is that, like, too often when you're critical of a franchise, these days with social media, right? Nobody has any room for nuance. You either suck or you're great.
Yes.
Like, there's no in between.
And most of life is nuance.
Exactly. It's everything. It's even in politics. Like the loudmouths on the left and right suck up all the air in the room, and most of us are more closer to the middle. Even myself, believe it or not. But when it comes to the Guardians, it's like there's a lot of good things about this organization. I get it. And when I went on this rant, I felt like I had to qualify that because, you could say 100 good things about a team. You say one bad thing, and it's like, you hate them, you're a hater. And the point is, like, they've made some really, to me, critical errors the last couple of years. One, this buildup of minor league talent that they have not used. Like, for years, they've used that to advantage. They've traded guys. A lot of times they traded guys that were flops, right? You look at Frazier. You look at Zimmer. You look at, what's the pitcher? He's still in the big leagues. He's a reliever, but he's hurt.
Oh, the lefty. I know who you mean.
Yeah.
Sheffield. Justice Sheffield.
Yes, but I wasn't even thinking of him. No. He had one good year as a reliever for the Padres. They traded him in the that doesn't matter. Anyway, I'll think of it later. But the Guardians, but now, the farm system's all backed up. A lot of the top prospects that have come up haven't done anything. Again, way too small a sample size. But Arias hasn't done much. Freeman hasn't done much. Naylor has, barely been up, but he hasn't done much. Meanwhile, Nolan Jones has played well. Will Benson, who's, huge. They didn't really give Will Benson or
Nolan
Jones a chance. Those guys never got a chance, and they got to the point where, we kind of got to trade them for almost nothing because we got to create 40-man roster spots. And the fact that they haven't made the trade to break up some of that glut has been a huge mistake. The bargain basement shopping on Zunino and Bell, which the Bell one especially I liked, and it's been really bad. It's backfired on them the last couple of years in a way. And now the team is in this place where they have all this good young pitching, and Ramirez and Jimenez and Naylor, who are really good, and this great closer, and then they have all these gaping holes that it feels like they can't fill, and it's frustrating.
So I listened to you talk yesterday, and for whatever reason, it stayed on my mind, and I got to thinking, and either one of you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but when I look at the Guardians, I know enough to know that we've always been able to identify and acquire talent via the draft, right? The farm system is great, but I can remember as a kid watching baseball experts go crazy when they could have traded Jared Wright and got back Pedro, and they didn't do it out of the fear of Jared Wright developing into this superstar, right? A couple years ago, I remember Sean Murphy being kicked around as a name that can be a bat that can help the Guardians, and they didn't want to give away some of the prospects that they had because they didn't want those guys to develop elsewhere. It just seems like, to me, as a casual fan, sometimes they're banking on these guys fulfilling their potential and operating out of fear of trading these prospects for a bat right now, and I don't think you can operate.
That is fair to some degree. Now, we don't know what the A's wanted. Maybe they wanted all their good young pitching, and the Guardians have developed. They almost never get it wrong at pitcher, almost never.
Right.
But they don't get it right very often at hitter.
No, they haven't.
Most of their young hitters have not panned out, and Kwan's gone backwards this year. Oscar Gonzalez went backwards this year. Will Brennan is, he's okay.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to me right now because this division is the worst division ever, and they should be dominating.
Yeah, it's right there for the taking. And we talked about it before. I think they need 2 bats, minimum.
Absolutely.
They need 2 outfield bats, really.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it this year, but we talked before. Pick one of the 3 that you got now, and that's your center fielder. All 3 of them can play center field. Pick
one of them. It can't be Straw because he can't hit. At this point, we can't keep doing what's
no. That's
He's
fine.
got to be a bench player.
And I was hesitant to move Quan off of left because you won a freaking Gold Glove in left field. You kind of want to leave that there. But the way that he's regressed this year is kind of a little bit alarming and concerning. And is it just the typical standard regression and then they take that leap in year 3? Well, that's what they have to figure out. But you've got to find power either on the trade market. George Valera, I know we just talked about their hitters haven't really panned out. Valera is a name that's been floating around in this organization for, probably 4 years.
Right.
And he's now healthy and on the cusp. He's a AAA. You know, had he been healthy at the start of the year, he probably would have been here by now, and that's an option. You mentioned Nolan Jones. I think that they just felt like he was too much of a duplicate of Josh Naylor. They already had a lefty-hitting, slugging guy at that spot. When Ramirez signs long-term, that takes up third base. You've got Naylor at first. Can Nolan Jones really play the outfield? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, but to me, Naylor's a DH. He's not a first baseman. You could have played Nolan Jones at first base.
Okay, but now you've just doubled. Now, and in fairness, Nolan hadn't really shown that he could hit lefties either.
And it's not enough.
So they're a
suck. I
duplicate.
mean,
right,
we
and
don't
they're
know.
a duplicate of each other.
Right.
And the prospect that they got back, I know people roll their eyes and get sick of hearing it, really fits what they're looking for. Juan Brito is, I know.
I know. I can't take it anymore.
But I'm just saying, like, he fits their profile
But
exactly.
eventually it's got to be guys that have proven it. Like, they've got, I screamed for months about trading for Brian Reynolds. How good a fit is he on this team?
Yeah, he is.
I mean, come on, I'm not even asking for guys that hit 40. Can we have some guys that hit 20?
Yeah.
Even Naylor is good at using, is not even on pace for 20. Ramirez is the only guy on the team on pace for 20 home runs. They have half the team's not going to hit double digits. You can't have that. You can't win that. What do they got, 50 home runs, Mike?
Give me 1 sec, but I believe it is 50. That's the number.
It's funny, as I'm hearing you all have this conversation, I can remember when Bobby Bradley came up, and I thought that would finally be the power back in the Guardians and the lineup. And then, you know, Mike knows this. I was huge on Oscar Gonzalez coming into the season of being that power back. And to your point, they can't seem to develop the bats.
No.
So I guess this is more of a question for you all. Yeah. If they can consistently get it right with pitching, then why are they so scared to trade away some of their pitching for a proven bat if you know that you can't draft one?
Here's why. So they had 3 top prospects, Espino, Williams, and Bybee. Espino is now damaged and may never be what he was. So what if they had traded Williams and then Espino gets hurt?
Right.
Like, it's hard when you've got 2 or 3. It's really hard to pick because if you get that, they're not all going to work. You know they're not all going to work out. And if you pick the wrong one to trade and then you stick with the one that busts, you've really set yourself back.
I get why they didn't want to trade Williams and Bybee. I get that because you know Bieber's gone.
Yes.
If it's either this year or at the end of this year, he's gone.
Yes.
You got to replace him. Same as we're worried about McKenzie, they're worried about McKenzie.
Absolutely.
He's built like a string bean. Guys that are built that way often have injuries. It's just the way it is. He's a tremendous talent, but that may just be part of him every year, that he's going to be dealing with injuries. It was in the minors, and it's been this way this year. He stayed healthy last year, but I don't think we can rely on that. You know, Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee are more prototypical built pitchers. They're bigger, stronger guys. They're not massive, but they're not built like him.
Gavin Williams is massive.
Yeah, well, it's true. Gavin Williams is massive, yeah. Bybee's pretty big, too, but not massive. But, the potential of this rotation, like next year, Williams, Bybee, Allen, and McKenzie could be a damn good rotation. Hopefully, McKenzie doesn't need Tommy John surgery because he's going to miss next year, too, if that happens. But in terms of the minor league, in terms of like Arias, Freeman, Rocchio, Valera, like Naylor, in the right deal, I'm willing to trade any of those guys.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is some of them have lost value. At least a little bit.
Arias has probably lost a little bit of value.
Arias has definitely lost some value.
But I still think that's who their guy's going to be at short. I still think that's their opening day shortstop next year.
You know what? Then let's. I just want to. If we're going to go with Naylor and Arias, to just play them every day at their positions. And by the way, at this point, just call back up Oscar Gonzalez. He's played better at AAA.
He had a cycle the other day.
What are we doing? Did you see the tweet I put up about put that tweet about the Guardians outfield, their home runs?
I don't have the tweet and tag
I
frozen,
remember it.
but I'll tell you, it's 820 at bats.
820, not at bats, plate appearances.
Plate appearances, excuse me.
58 RBI.
6 homers, 58 RBIs from those 3 guys. I mean, that is. Jay said to me yesterday, "Do you think that's the lowest ever?" I said, "Probably, at least since the dead ball era."
Yeah.
3 guys with 6 home runs total in the outfield. Like you can't win. And it was 50 home runs. Guardians have 50 home runs, right? And they played what 77 games?
77 games.
I mean, they're
They're
averaging
37 and 40 and a 50 home runs.
Did any team hit under 100 home runs last year?
For the entire season?
I don't think so.
I'll tell you right
Like
now.
they might end up with under 100 home runs.
The lowest total last year was 110 by the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, I mean, the Tigers were like one of the worst teams in baseball. If you look at the teams, like what the Guardians did last year was an anomaly to be as good as they were with no power.
They had 127 last year, which was 29th.
Right. And
they're 30th
they're not going
right
to hit
now.
that
They've
many.
gone back.
Now, you'd think their pace would be a little better in the second half. But if I said they're not going to hit 100 home runs this year, I mean, they might not. I mean, they're on pace for probably like 105
Yeah,
right
they'll
now.
get to 100. They'll get to 100.
They should.
But it won't be until late
But the
in
fact
year.
that you're not sure about that is insane.
Yeah.
Like, you can't – you got to average, I would say, at least close to a home run per game.
They're on pace for 116, by the way.
Right. Oh, 116.
Oh, wait, no, I did my math. Hold on one
No,
second.
that's wrong. It's got to be like 105.
No.
105 on the dot. 105.19.
We're only 4 games away from the
From
halfway,
the halfway
point.
point.
Yeah, 105.
I mean, that's again. Think about this. Barry Bonds hit what 39 by the All-Star break in 2001 by himself, I think.
I mean, Judge last year.
Don't Ohtani got half the home runs by himself?
Ohtani's
as
got
the Guardians
26 home runs, I believe, already.
Someone said he's having arguably the greatest season in the history of baseball this year.
Doesn't he do that every year?
But
They
this
said that
year
last
is
year.
his. He's batting 297, has 26 home runs, which leads the majors, 62 RBIs. In the pitching category, he leads
and
the
he's
league
got
in
double-digit stolen bases.
Yes, he also leads the league in strikeouts. Is the Angels' team leader in wins. Is a 3.13 ERA. His WHIP is barely over 1, and his pitching WAR, just his pitching WAR, is 2.4.
Yeah, he's a top 5 pitcher. He might win the Cy Young and the MVP.
He has a 5.6 WAR before the All-Star.
Yeah, I
break.
mean, MVP this year for him. Like, Aaron Judge had to have one of the greatest offensive seasons in the history of the game last year to beat Ohtani for the MVP. And
What
Ohtani
if he won the MVP and the Cy Young? That's unbelievable.
could.
He could.
I mean, Garrett Cole's having a great year. Shane McClanahan again. This guy's been the best pitcher in baseball the last 2 years. He got hurt again, though. He got it back. He left his last game, but I think he's okay. Anyway, go ahead, Mike.
So I did send you guys a Guardians topic, and it
Yeah.
was not this, and we have a little
Yeah.
time, so let's get to that.